get started early in case we have any comments from the members. We have a few more members that we expect to come in this afternoon, but prior to that, I wanted to kick off this afternoon's meeting because we do have a very distinguished panel that we expect are going to share a lot of very insightful and fascinating information about California's continued progress in the energy arena. And today we're very pleased to talk about Mexico's growing interest in the energy area and energy reform within the country, and the possibility of working together with Mexico to advance North America's goals on reducing emissions and combating climate change. Welcome to the Select Committee on California-Mexico Cooperation. This hearing in particular, we've decided to discuss energy. This particular committee was created to cultivate California's relationship with Mexico and to address important issues surrounding California's economic, labor, and environmental relationship with Mexico. I'm honored to have that my colleagues are joining me today in this effort to formalize a dialogue and an exchange information on issues that impact the state of California and Mexico. I often talk about how if you simply looked at the states that the northern states of Mexico and the southern states of the United States, the ones that share a common border, if we simply talk about our common border with Mexico, if you add up the economic output of those states, together they would make up the third largest economy in the world. If you consider just in that small region of our respective countries, if we would look at cooperative elements in public policy and look how we can work together to advance economic issues, there is an enormous amount of potential. We're talking about our own European Union-like structure that we can form. But without going to that extent, there are simple things that we can accomplish working together that would really benefit both countries in a major way. And we're talking about increasing educational attainment, increasing economic output, improving the environment. All those things, if we form partnerships with Mexico, we could do so much to impact the world in such a great way, even beyond our own borders. Our committee is made up of the following senators: Benjamin Allen, who is here with us from the 26th District, Anthony Canella, representing the 12th District, our very own pro tem, Senator Kevin De Leon from the 24th District, Senator Bob Huff from the 29th District, Senator Ricardo Lara from the 33rd, Senator Connie Leyva from the 20th, and Senator Mike Morrell from the 23rd. We expect that they'll join us throughout the discussion. The focus of today's hearing in particular will be to discuss the existing collaboration and potential cross-border opportunities created by Mexico's energy reform and California's 2014 Memorandum of Understanding with Mexico. Before we start, I'd like to ask if any of the members or Senator Allen, if you'd like to make a few comments or welcoming comments.
I'm just excited to hear the presenters today. The Senate took a trip to Mexico last year, and we're going to be going again, I think, in September. And you know, we're just very committed to this extraordinarily important relationship. And I think we've got to. I just thank the chair and the staff for pulling together a great list of speakers, including some high-up folks from the government in Mexico City, also We've got some people from the UC who are going to talk to us a little bit about their UC Mexico initiative and some of the exciting energy work that's happening at Lawrence Berkeley Lab. So great job, everybody, and looking forward to it. And I'm going to be presenting a bill at some point during this hearing, so I'm going to go and come back.
Thank you, thank you. And it's important to mention that this is part of a series of outreach efforts with Mexico that include the annual trip that I'm always very pleased to be a part of. You know, it's notable to mention that California is very, very different than many other parts of the country, and that we embrace a relationship with Mexico, that we celebrate a relationship with Mexico, and it's very sad to see that there is this, you know, growing, you know, negative element in this campaign that is, I think, very hurtful of potential relations. And I just want to add for the record that California doesn't share that sentiment. We have, you know, and we have Senator Morale here. Thank you for joining us. But I think we have a bipartisan consensus here in California that the relationship with Mexico is important culturally and economically and in every sense, and that we're working as a legislature to help improve prosperity for both countries. So Senator Morale, did you want to make any comments before we get started with our panel?
No, I'm just glad to be here. Appreciate Senator Waisel asking me to be on this committee. I was born and raised in California, so Southern California, and so I know a lot that is happening in our state, and how it's nice to have good relationships, so to help our state be able to prosper. So thank you.
Thank you. Today's hearing will consist of 4 panels. We will have an opportunity for member questions and comments at the end of each presentation. Public comment will, as usual, take place at the very end of the program. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our first speaker. Leonardo Beltran is the Deputy Secretary of Planning and Energy Transition for Mexico's Energy Ministry. Mr. Beltran was appointed Deputy Secretary by President Peña Nieto in 2012. Deputy Secretary Beltran holds a law degree from UNAM, a master's in public administration and international development from Harvard, and a Bachelor of Science in Economics from the Instituto Tecnológico Autónomo de México, ITAM. In 2005, Leonardo Beltran joined the Mexican Energy Ministry as Director of the International Relations Department. In 2010, he was appointed as Managing Director of Energy Studies and Information at the Energy Ministry of Mexico. Deputy Secretary Beltran will be briefing us on Mexico's 2013 energy reform. He will discuss the development of regulatory framework that provides additional opportunities for innovation, investment, and overall collaboration. Welcome, Mr. Secretary. It's an honor to have you here. We've set aside 10 minutes for your presentation. Feel free to begin when you're ready. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much. It's indeed a pleasure for me to be here, and I would like to thank, of course, Senator Hueso, President of the Select Committee on California-Mexico Cooperation of the California State Senate, and its members, Senator Allen and Senator Morel. Of course, its staff. It's a pleasure to be invited to this 4th California-Mexico Advocacy Day to continue promoting bilateral relationships with the United States and California. Thank you also to Senator Kevin De Leon, and I would like to thank also distinguished guests and colleagues that are present around here. Senator De Leon has been very open and active in this relationship, And of course, it's an ally to continue strengthening the relationship with Mexico. What I would like to state is first, we sent a PowerPoint presentation just for your perusal, but what I would do is just to say a brief words on the energy reform. And of course, I would be open to answer any questions or comments you may have. I am here representing the Mexican government in my capacity as Deputy Secretary of Energy from my country. And the main results that we have achieved from the energy reform is by opening the sector to private investment. The energy reform represents a paradigm shift that profoundly restructures the institutional and legal framework of Mexico. A little over 2 years ago from its approval, the reform is already producing results in the oil and gas sector. Over 30 new companies are now involved in exploration and production. We are constructing almost 10,000 kilometers of new gas pipelines to increase our electrical generation from natural gas, the transitional fuel. The energy reform also established clear rules and incentives that give confidence to investors in electricity and renewable projects. Today, 20% of the electricity that is generated in Mexico comes from non-fossil fuel sources. Our goal is that by 2025, 35% of our total electricity generation will come from clean energy sources. To reach this goal, we have created clean energy certificates that guarantee that large consumers obtain at least, in 2018, 5% of their electricity from lower polluting sources. By 2019, this requirement will increase to 5.8%, and it will have to move upwards every year onwards. Additionally, we are offering accelerated depreciation as a fiscal incentive for clean energy investments. The short-term wholesale energy market initiated operations this past January. In this market, companies of all sizes and technologies may buy and sell electricity. A few weeks ago, we held the first long-term electricity auction, which was exclusively for clean energy sources. As a result of this auction, the national electric utility will purchase 5.4 million megawatt hours of electricity from renewable sources, as well as 5.3 million clean energy certificates from 11 private companies investing $2.6 billion in 18 wind and solar projects. On April 29, we announced the second long-term electricity auction, which will open new possibilities for the international wind energy industry. With respect to wind energy, Mexico is carrying out several projects, such as the Wind Atlas, which maps out the availability of wind resources in the country. We have launched 5 research centers to take advantage of Mexico's wind, solar, geothermal, ocean, and bioenergy resources. These consortia focus on research and technological development on market-ready technologies and include universities, private companies, and research institutes. It is worth noting that the Ministry of Energy has invested the equivalent of $150 million, the largest single public investment in the history of our country, in these 5 centers. Through these centers, Mexico will fulfill the commitment to double public investment in research and technological development in clean energy sources and incentivize private investment to follow this example announced by President Peña Nieto in Mexico, in Paris, at the COP21 in December 2015, as part of Mission Innovation. In order to move the electricity generated by renewable energy plants, Mexico is planning to add almost 25,000 kilometers to the electrical transmission grid by 2029. This year, we will publish the first auction for electrical transmission lines that will allow private investors to take part, and these lines will use direct current to connect the southeast part of the country, which has vast wind resources, to the main areas of demand. One of the big areas of opportunity to link Mexico and the California energy market. Modernizing our electrical system will require an estimated $116 billion in investments, and we expect private capital to be a key component of these investments. We have also created specific financial instruments for investing in the energy sector, such as Fibra E, that works under the Master Limited Partnership Scheme and has proved to be considerably successful for investors around the world. Mexico and the United States have established close ties, in particular with the state of California, stemming from the Memorandum of Understanding signed in July 2014 by California Governor Jerry Brown and the Secretary of Energy from Mexico, Pedro Joaquin Caldwell. The objective of the MOU is to strengthen and promote technical cooperation and the joint implementation of programs and activities in low-carbon energy sources, clean technologies, biofuels, and energy efficiency. This collaboration has been further complemented with the Memorandum of Understanding signed with the University of California system, as well as the human capital training programs, visits, workshops, conferences, and academic exchanges that have arisen from these agreements. Some particular results from these MOUs that I can highlight are 8 researchers from California, Berkeley, and Stanford have visited Mexico to participate in the lecture series on the future of energy in Mexico. We held a symposium on renewable energy during Governor Jerry Brown's visit to Mexico City. In human capital formation, we have formalized the following programs: an academic exchange between the Institute of the Americas and the University of California, San Diego, a collaboration with the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab and the University of California at Berkeley for the creation of a postgraduate program on carbon capture, use, and storage in Mexico. The president of the UC system, Ms. Napolitano, launched a UC Mexico initiative early 2014, from which a UC Mexico Energy Working Group was formed. In the last 12 months, we have organized technical workshops in collaboration with the UC system, LBNL, and the California Energy Commission on topics such as renewable energy, energy efficiency, and geothermal energy. We have signed memorandum of understanding with the University of Stanford, LBNL, Berkeley, to develop postdoctoral programs in energy for Mexican researchers. Ladies and gentlemen, I celebrate this visit, which confirms the mutual interest between Mexico and the United States, and in particular with the great state of California, in taking another step in the bilateral energy agenda. Today, Mexico and we are in a position to strengthen our ties and jointly participate in the implementation of the resulting programs in order to transition to a low-carbon economy. Thanks to the representatives of the state of California for receiving us today. Thanks to the California Senate And let us hope that the results of these meetings allow us to broaden the cooperation between our two countries. I really thank you, Senator Hueso, Senator De Leon, Senator Morel, Senator Allen. Thanks very much for having me here discussing about the opportunities to work with the great state of California. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very impressive list of accomplishments. I just wanted to ask if the tenor or the intent of a lot of these policies were to reduce emissions, to reduce somehow to combat climate change. Is that because we've had success in California, not only doing that but also creating new opportunity and investment. And you mentioned increasing investment and increasing, drawing international investment into Mexico. And I thought you were very brief in that. I just wanted to know how that's going. Is that increasing investment? Are your laws focused on reducing emissions? And if there's any, if you plan to phase out certain fuels from the energy development mix in your policies, do you understand the kind of the question that I'm?
Absolutely. Sure. I mean, it has a comprehensive set of goals, the energy reform. The first being of those broad objectives. It's basically, why did we do the energy reform? And the first reason for doing the energy reform is to make sure that Mexico had energy security. Given the ample resources that we have, we submitted this question to a series of public hearings. And as a nation, and within the legislative power at the federal level and at the state level, we discussed the opportunities of taking advantage of the natural resources. And the unanimous reply to the question was, yes, Mexico would like to take advantage of the energy resources, of the natural endowment that it has in order to have a more secure energy future. But the second question was, should we do this irrespective of the resource that we are considering? And the unanimous reply was, we have to do this sustainably. And in order to do this sustainably, the only possible way is to make sure that we can reduce our carbon emissions, to reduce the environmental footprint of the energy sector. And to do so, we just are looking into some other partners and friends that can help us build a more competitive, more resilient, a more developed market in which we can rely upon on our future, on our sustainable future, but also that create opportunities for development in Mexico, that create opportunities to partner with similar minds. And the state of California, it's actually the one that it has done this for over a long period of time, for many years. And what we have just witnessed over these years is that it takes several things to be successful if we are to be sustainably in the future. One, it's a long-term vision. California's vision towards having a low energy state, a low carbon state. Mexico fully coincides with that. And now we have set up targets as well as California has done in the past, we have now binding commitments with the issuance of a particular bill called the Energy Transition Act, which states goals for 2018, 2021, 2024, 2030, and 2050, with progressive targets in all of this period. Then, in addition to having the a sustainable energy future with renewable resources, we really need to learn how to use sustainable energy. And that means, how do we use efficiently our resources, our energy, how to conserve the resources. And in this Transition Act, we do not only have the mandate and the targets for clean generation, but we have also the mandate to set up targets for energy efficiency, which in effect, it's generating the conditions to equalize clean energy and non-consumption of energy, because of the importance of having not only renewable resources, but if we are to use all of our natural endowment, it should be used efficiently and sustainably. So we are following and being inspired by these long-term goals that you have set forth. We have mirrored that initiative. We have created now a wholesale electricity market, which is similar to what happens in California. And what we are witnessing is that prior of this reform, we had only one electric company. With the results that I just shared with you, there were 69 companies taking part in this tender, in this auction. So that's exactly what created was an enlargement of the market in Mexico. Now, if we are exploring now not only inspiration, but a partnership with California, for instance. And why California? Because it's our next door neighbor, because we share borders, because we share culture, because we share talent, because we share the natural endowment. It only makes sense that we work together towards integrating our electricity markets. Not only integrating, the infrastructure, the routes, the trade of goods, but we can also trade electricity, we can also trade people, and eventually what we would have is a North American region in which we all would prosper with the enlargement of this opportunity of having more sustainable resources for powering our economies, our communities, more markets to develop particular technologies, clean technologies in effect, and of course to reduce emissions and have a model of cleaning our powers and prospering and strengthening the development of our nations. So, summarizing the answer is yes, it has a multi-pronged approach and a multi-approach effect, the energy reform. And right now, we are less energy intensive, we have larger investments, we have more collaboration, we have developed new markets, and we are creating prosperity for Mexico. And in addition to that, we have partners from California taking part of this momentum of the energy sector in Mexico. One or two of the companies that were successful in last tender come from California. So why only two?